You go by the name of T?
Tia. T-I-A.
T-I, but it's pronounced Tia.
Tia.
Tia. And you're Tia Harry,
Harry, yes.
otherwise Wisteria.
Wisteria Harry.
You're the mother of Donnell
Ellis Jr.
Jr. And can you tell us how your son was murdered?
Yes.
Do you remember the date he was murdered?
Yes, April 16th, 2011.
Can you tell us some things about that?
At the Pilot Lodge on Ridgewood, well, A1A Ridgewood. I found out I think it was 3 hours later that my son had been shot. Somebody told me he had got shot in Holly Point. I go to Holly Point. I don't see nobody. So I see a group of guys and I was like, y'all seen DJ? And they was like, yeah, check on 14th and Ridgewood. I'm like, okay, so I go up there to the crime scene. It's a crime scene, taped off or whatever. I walk up to the officer and I tell him that I just heard my son was shot. And they was like, well, they took everybody to the hospital.
Who told you your son was shot?
An officer that was sitting at I don't know who, it was a Holly Hill officer.
Holly Hill officer.
Yeah,
okay.
Holly Hill officer.
And you do acknowledge, before we go any further, that you're doing this video for the website, ValutiaExposed.com.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So after that, he told me they rushed everybody to the hospital. So I go to the hospital and I tell them why I'm there, whatever. So they put me in this room. So when they put me in this room, I was like...
Holly Hill put you in the room.
It was a Holly Hill police there. It was a Daytona Beach police there.
Sheriff deputy?
It was... I'm trying to think.
Several police officers.
It was several police officers there. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a sheriff there too? Okay. So...
Wasn't it the sheriff that came to the hospital?
Okay. So I sat in the room, then I thought about it. I was like, no, I'm going outside because I was put in a room like this in Miami when my mom died. Mm-hmm. So that's not good news. I went outside. So they was like, when they have some news for me, they'll come and get me. So I was like, okay. This here was around, it was after 7 then. So I sat there, and I sat there waiting. All my son, family and friends, everybody at the hospital is packed.
In the end, did you find out your son had been murdered?
Yes.
And did you find out that he was allegedly involved in some sort of drug deal that had gone bad?
I found that out, 2 months later? Because...
So they didn't even tell you the particulars of how you...
No,
okay.
They told me nothing. All they said, all they did actually at the hospital was have me to identify my son.
Okay. Did your son's death/murder result in criminal prosecutions of several individuals?
Yes, but not the right ones.
Okay. I guess the hard question is, or the easy question is, who do you believe killed your son?
Jamie Evans.
Okay. Jamie Evans, was he ever charged with anything in this?
Was not charged with anything. They said he done nothing wrong, but he was with the guys that did shooting.
Okay. Do you know an individual by the name of Jerry Cruz?
Yes, now I do.
Okay.
I didn't at the beginning. I never laid eyes on Jerry. I never knew Jerry.
Okay. Do you know, have you ever been told by official law enforcement individuals, and if you can name them, that'd be great, that said that Jerry Cruz was involved in some way of your son's death?
Yes, Holly Hill detective at the time, Gina Baker, and State Attorney Ryan Will.
Is that J. Ryan
J.
Will?
Ryan Will, yes.
Okay, how did Mr. Will say Jerry Cruz was involved in your son's death?
He tried to say that Jerry set up, well actually, first it was Leroy set it up.
And Leroy.
Leroy Gatson.
Okay, now Leroy Gatson, before we go on.
Yeah.
Do you believe Leroy Gatson had anything to do with your son's death?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you know Leroy Gatson, whether he was ever convicted in your son's death?
Yes, he was convicted.
Okay. Do you think Leroy Gatson received a fair trial?
No, I do not.
And you don't think he has anything to do with your son's death?
No, I don't.
Let's go back to Mr. Jerry Cruz.
Okay.
Was he ever convicted?
Yes.
Do you, and once again, for clarity purposes, do you think he has anything to do with your son's death?
No.
Okay. Would it surprise you if I told you that Volusia exposed that Mr. Cruz's conviction was overturned by the 5th DCA? Are you aware of the overturn of his case?
Yes. Yes.
Are you aware that one of the rationales for overturning his conviction was misconduct by the Assistant State Attorney, J. Ryan Will?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe, you yourself, that Mr. Will engaged in misconduct?
Yes.
Do you believe he was honest with you as the mother?
No.
Okay. Would it surprise you that Mr. Will has been reassigned to re-prosecute Mr. Cruz?
Where I really wouldn't want him on the case for what he did the first time, and I know it was just too many lies going on because I sat through 3 trials.
Now, 3 trials for Mr. Cruz or 3 trials?
2 with Leroy Gasson, 1 with Jerry Cruz.
Okay. Would it surprise you if I told you I had an email from the state's attorney's office saying the reason why Mr. Will, J. Ryan Will, the assistant state's attorney, has been reassigned to prosecute Mr. Cruz is because of his knowledge of the case, the evidence of the case, the witnesses of the case, and because he believes, or at least the state's attorney's office believes, they have a good working relationship with your son's family?
No, they don't have a good relationship with...
Did you make that clear to them? That they don't have
Yes.
to work? Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Chanel Ellis, Donnell Ellis' sister.
So you're the sister
Yes.
of Mr.
Donnell
Ellis.
Ellis.
Donnell. And ma'am,
And I'm Selena Harry, the cousin of Donnell.
so would this be representative of Donnell's family?
Yes.
Do you know anyone in your family? Yes, ma'am. Thank
Oh, you
you.
want to know? You want them to tell them who you are, Doc?
Tell us who you are.
I'm Mariana Stanley,
And what was DJ to you?
my uncle.
Okay.
Okay, so he was your uncle. Would you say that your opinions are representative of your family?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone here feel that you have a good relationship with the state's attorney's office?
No.
No?
No.
Nobody at this table has a relationship with
The state
the
attorney's
state attorney's
office.
office or no judge at the Justice Center on Ridgeway.
Here's the big question. Because Mr. Cruz is in jail, prison right now, regarding your loved one's death.
Right.
Do you believe Jerry Cruz and I guess Mr. Gadsden received a fair trial?
No.
Do you believe that, once again, I'll repeat myself,
That's
do you
okay.
believe they had anything to do with your loved one's murder?
No.
And you believe it's a man by the name of Evans?
Yes, Jamie Evans.
Okay. Tell me what Jamie Evans got convicted of.
Nothing.
He was more treated as a victim than a suspect.
Okay?
Right. Same.
Miss Harry, can you
Yeah.
explain to us why,
They,
in your opinion, Mr. Evans wasn't?
okay. They claim that my son shot Jamie, then Chauncey Gilmore shot my son in self-defense.
Okay. Who's Chauncey Gilmore? Is that the juvenile?
That's the juvenile of the whole case. He was the only juvenile at the time when the crime happened.
So they blame this juvenile
Yes.
for shooting your
Yes.
And what did this juvenile get?
5 years
Why did he only get 5 years?
for having a gun.
Do they
Because
believe
they
that he?
said that he shot my brother within self-defense of his friend.
Okay, now explain that. How could your brother?
Right.
How could they?
Because they
Right.
tried to say my brother shot Evans, which made Chauncey shoot
Chauncey
him.
had every right to shoot him because he shot him.
No, they
'Cause
said
he
he
shot.
pointed the gun at Chauncey, is what Ryan said. DJ supposed to pointed the gun
Shot.
shot
After he
Jamie,
shot
and
Jamie.
pointed the gun at Chauncey, so that's what made Chauncey fire. That's what Ryan said.
Okay.
But it's your opinion that your
My son
son
never
never
had
had
a gun. He had his cell phone in his
He said
hand
through
because
trial,
right,
right, that
and
he didn't have the gun.
in the first trial that came out there, when my son came out the door, he had his hands up like, "Don't shoot me." And that's where
That's
he,
kind of in vogue these days, isn't it?
right, yes,
But this is before it became in vogue.
right.
Okay. Okay. Are you aware, have you had a chance yet to read the rather long 5th District Court of Appeals decision in Jerry Cruz's case, where his case got overturned?
No, because the appeals court told me, first they told me I have to get in contact with Jerry. Jerry had to contact them in order for them to send me a copy. I contacted Jerry, told Jerry to write them, let them know they can send it to me. I called her back, then she said she can't copy it for me.
Well, I'm going to put a copy of it up on the story we're going to write, and I'll email you a copy of the 5th District Court of Appeals decision for your review.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you be surprised in this decision that Mr. Will, J. Ryan Will, the prosecutor, told the jury to have sympathy for your family, to convict Mr. Cruz, and
Yes,
sympathy
his
for your family?
words were, if you don't convict him, and he pointed at me and said, you'll be spitting in his family's face, and I walked out the courtroom.
Do you believe that if the jury would not have convicted Mr. Cruz, that the jury would have spit in your family's face?
No.
Do you believe anybody has spit in your family's face?
Ryan J. Will, the state attorney office, and Holly Hill Police Department for lying to me, telling me my son had a gun and his DNA wasn't on no gun.
Okay, I've asked you this question 2 or 3 times, but I'm going to do it
Wasn't
again.
on, okay.
So, you have zero animosity to Mr. Gadsden, Mr. Cruz.
No.
You don't think they had anything to do with your son's
Nothing.
death?
Nothing.
Okay. Let me see what I have here. Are you aware of, I think his name is Leroy Gatson?
Gatson, yes.
Are you aware that his mother and grandmother have similar concerns about how their son's trial went?
Yes,
That-
yes,
what
I'm
that-
aware. I talked to Leroy's mother.
Uh-huh.
I talked to her a lot about the case, and I know there was because actually Ryan had them thinking that I was against them, and I was like, I say just because I don't talk to y'all, I just want to sit in court and find out what happened to my son. When I sat in that court and everything came out about deals and everything, but Ryan Will told me that his boss, which is R.J. Larissa, said no one is getting deals. I finds out in court they got deals.
Okay. When was
And
that?
trial number 1 with Leroy.
And nobody was getting deals.
No, that they got deals.
But La Raza originally alleged.
He said that Larissa said no one was getting deals before
Will
trial.
said that. Will said
Yes.
Even when we went and sat with them and went over the evidence of the video we see at the state attorney's office, he said no one's getting any deal. He asked us if we wanted anybody to get a deal. We told him no.
Nobody.
Okay, for clarity purposes, did you know at that time Evans wasn't even getting charged?
No.
No, I didn't know that.
So you assumed Evans was getting charged
Right,
too?
right.
Okay.
Because I told them, you know how they doing their investigation, they asked the family, what have y'all heard? I said, well, I heard this guy, Jamie Evans, shot my son. I said, I don't even know Jamie. I said, but I'm familiar with Chauncey, and I don't really know Leroy, but I've heard of him. But Chauncey is a part of my family. Chauncey, father is married to my first cousin.
And this is the juvenile?
Yes. And I also told him, I said, well, I heard Chauncey was there. I said, but I heard Chauncey never got out the car. And Chauncey told them he didn't even know my son.
Why do you think the state's attorney, or why do you think the blame is for the shooting is being move to Chauncey if you believe Evans did the shooting? What would be the rationale?
Because Chauncey was the only juvenile. And I feel that since Chauncey was a juvenile, Chauncey ain't gonna get as much time as someone that's 18 and over.
And in the end, he only got 5 years.
He only got 5 years.
And he didn't
That's
get
still
tried.
not.
He didn't
And when they told him he was getting 5 years, Chauncey turned around and looked at me and said, "For what? For this bullshit?" And I just looked at him and I smiled. Because they had you thinking you was going to be on probation, that you was not going to go to jail.
So you're convinced Chauncey didn't shoot your...
I'm convinced, because Chauncey DNA wasn't on no gun. Chauncey DNA was on a 9mm that he claimed my son had. Lawrence Clark DNA was on the 9mm. Jamie Evans is the only one DNA was on that 380 that killed my son, and the DNA lady said she did 33 touches. Something of my sons would have been on that gun if he used that gun to shoot Jamie. Jamie was never shot.
So the DNA doesn't support their stories.
Right, it does not support their story. Y'all told me Chauncey did it. DNA told me Jamie did it. I told y'all I heard Jamie shot my son.
Do you know this Evans guy? What's his name again now?
Jamie Evans.
Okay. Do you know the location of Mr. Evans right now?
Yes, he's in Volusia County Jail.
Really? What for?
Yes. He put the police on a high-speed chase down 95, down 44 to New Smyrna, and tried to run into the police, fleeing and eluding. He has a lot of charges.
Right before he got that, he was arrested for the pills. So he was on probation before this fleeing and eluding. He was already in the newspaper for being arrested for pills.
I forgot about that.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, I
I didn't
forgot
forget
about
because I got all of this. I didn't forget.
Well, ladies, you seem to be pretty committed. Let me ask you
Yes,
this,
very.
because I'm really impressed that not only are you trying to get justice for your son,
Yes.
okay, that you're trying to get justice for at least Mr. Cruz that you don't know. Evidently Chauncey's somehow related, or you do know Mr. Gatson.
Well, I don't
or
really
he's like
know.
a family.
No, I don't really know Leroy. I've heard of Leroy, but I didn't really know him. No.
Okay, and you don't know Mr. Cruz
No,
at all.
no.
Okay, and you're concerned about these two men getting justice.
Right,
And-
right.
And we've discussed that Mr. Cruz has a retrial coming up here real quick.
Yes.
And I believe we've already discussed this, but I'll touch base again. Mr. Will is going to be doing the retrial.
And I don't approve of that. Because I didn't like what he did in the first 3 cases. So why would they let him do a 4th case?
With the misconduct.
With the misconduct, right.
That the DCA has,
Right.
and now
I don't think it's fair to Jerry.
he's, state's attorney's telling us, VolutiaExposed.com, that there's a good relationship with you guys.
No, he don't have a good relationship with
He
me.
said-
Ryan
he
Will
was.
doesn't even speak to me.
Well, that's what you guys are
I
telling
was
me. Who
in
should I
court-
believe?
Who
Me,
said that
but
this-
we're gonna tell you the
Who
truth.
said
We're
that
not
this
gonna
thing-
lie.
I shouldn't believe the state's attorney?
No, you shouldn't
They
believe
lie
him
about
because he's a
everybody
liar.
else. If you want to believe a liar, you could. Now, if you want the truth, you're gonna believe what's in that this.
Ladies, let me ask you this. Has any of you gone to Mr. Cruz's attorney and let them know about this?
Yes, I did. I went to New Smyrna to talk to her to let her know that this is a crazy case, to pay attention to everything. I told her, look through Leroy's first case where every confession you wanted came out in that case.
Leroy, the juvenile.
Yeah, no. Leroy Gatson. The other man that's convicted.
Okay.
That's blamed for my son's
Okay,
murder.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, and I told her you will find a lot of confessions in that because, my God, I serve a good God. Thank you, Jesus. And they couldn't lie that day. And when Leroy's lawyer, Mr. Kevin Bledsoe, I love Kevin. Kevin is awesome. But he brought out so many things that the state attorney did behind my back. Even with me telling the state attorney how they went on Facebook bragging about killing my son. He said something like, I
Whoa,
told
whoa,
those.
stop
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
Who went on Facebook bragging about killing your son?
Chauncey, Lawrence, and Jamie Evans.
Okay, Lawrence is who?
Lawrence Clark,
Uh-huh.
Jamie Evans, and Chauncey Gilmore.
Did you give this to the state's attorney?
I let him know about it.
And
He said I told those idiots to take it off.
'Cause Chauncey
Wait a minute.
didn't know where to
Yeah, he
go.
said that to
said
me. Ryan Will told me that.
I told those idiots,
To take it off,
meaning the suspect.
Chauncey Gilmore, Lawrence Clark, because the same gun they claim my son had, they was on Facebook with a 9mm, just like the gun that they had in court.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you this question, and we're gonna qualify this as an opinion,
Okay,
okay? Because it would be just hard for my readers
right.
to believe that there's so much corruption running through the state's attorney's office.
So it's a lot, they better believe.
I mean, you know, we got the Albany Wilkerson thing where the woman that drove her kids into the ocean in her van.
Right.
They've had to drop charges against her because there's
Yeah.
allegations now from her attorney that all the evidence was turned over. And there's other matters. It'd be hard for my readers to really understand your concerns about the state's attorney's office. Do you believe that they misled you through this whole
They-
process?
They tried to mislead me, but I peeped everything because I'm an observer. And I sat in court and I watched. When every witness got in trouble, they'll look at Ryan Will. And see, Kevin Bledsoe caught on to it, so he stood in front of them so they couldn't look at Ryan.
Why do you think, what rationale would the state's attorney have for not handling this case correctly? Why do you think they didn't charge Evans? Do you have a theory?
He
An
might be a
opinion?
snitch. He might be a snitch for the state already. That's the only thing I can come up with right now. But I'm trying to find out why. Because for him to be there and not be charged with anything isn't right. When everybody else that was there was charged with something.
I know you haven't had a chance to look at the fifth DCA opinion. I have.
But don't Chauncey people got something to do with it?
No, his uncle, I found out he played basketball overseas. He's a professional basketball. Well, he was a professional
Is that who
basketball.
they called about?
Yeah, George. Oh, and first it was Chauncey Chauncey Senior supposed to had to call an ATF officer. They know an ATF officer, and it come down to Lawrence Clark. Mother used to date an ATF officer. The one that they claim was robbed. His mother used to date an ATF officer.
So you think some people?
Supposed to turn the guns.
Gun. That's what they didn't turn the guns into Holly Hill Police Department. They turned it into an ATF officer. Well, that's the story that the state attorney office told us.
Would it be fair for me to say this? You know there's lies.
Yes, lots of lies.
That you're sure of.
I'm positive.
You know there's a rat running through this case. You just don't
Yes,
know
exactly who.
You don't know
I
where the
don't.
head and the tail is.
Right.
But you know there's a rat.
Yes, I know there's a rat.
You smell it. I've read the fifth DCA opinion. Okay. Would it surprise you at all that one of the things that the appeals court focused it on was J. Ryan Will's assurance to the jury in closing arguments, I believe it was, that there was someone by the name of Broadwater involved in this case?
Yes.
That Broadwater had assured him that Mr. Cruz was aware that there was going to be an alleged robbery, but when the 5th District Court of Appeals reviewed everything, there was no evidence to support those allegations.
Right.
Would that be consistent with Mr. Will's behavior in this? He just kind of says it, so there it is?
Yes, I feel that Will just collaborated this whole story, actually. And I told him that to his face.
Okay.
I
well,
say there was never a robbery. And you
let's
trying to make it look like.
let's do this.
Okay.
I'm assuming that sometime Mr. Will will be watching this video. I want you
Good.
to look into that camera, and I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. In his last prosecution of Mr. Cruz, he said, have sympathy for the family. Convict Mr. Cruz. Don't spit on the family. Convict Mr. Cruz. What do you have to say if he says those statements again, or anything like those statements, that he has your backing on this prosecution? I want you to talk to Mr.
Ryan.
Ryan Will right now. Let him know
I wouldn't
exactly.
like for Ryan Will to not lie on me, do not lie on my family, and do not lie on my son. Because you had a chance to tell me the truth and everything came out your mouth was a lie.
And
And I peeped it. And that's what you didn't like, because every time you would ask me a question, I ask you a question back and you look at me like you surprised, like I know this and I know that. I'm not dumb, I know a lot.
I feel like you're more about trying to get a higher conviction rate than getting justice for my
Right. It was all about you winning the case. It was not even about my son. It was about you winning a case. And that's exactly what it looked like to me. That you trying to get props off people going to jail, but you sent innocent people to jail and you know it was not right.
And define those innocent people again, in your opinion.
Leroy Gatson is innocent and Jerry Cruz is innocent. Dashawn Broadwater would have been innocent, but since he want to be a liar for the state, I don't have no type of sympathy for Dashawn Broadwater. He can keep being a state snitch and lie on people so he can get less time, because Dashawn only got 13 years for being a witness for the state. But Leroy Gatson and Jerry Cruz got 30 and 15.
And that's because they took it to trial.
Right.
In your opinion, they wanted the truth to come out.
Yes, and Leroy trial brought it out. That first trial, oh,
They really
my
didn't
God,
expect
showed me
nobody
so,
to take it
taking
to
the
trial.
trial. I don't think he expected nobody to take the trial.
Ladies, I got one more question to ask you. And I need an answer from each one of you.
Okay.
All three of you seem to have some knowledge of this thing.
Oh yeah, we was in
Okay?
court.
How this case was handled. And the Fifth District Court of Appeals honestly seems to appear
The
to
same
agree with you.
thing. Yes.
They see a rat too.
Yes.
Okay? And you see a rat. So,
Yes.
I mean,
And we need to get that rat
and
out and
honestly,
turn it off.
you seen the rat before they seen the rat.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I have to give you props there. I want each one of you to individually answer the question.
Okay.
Okay? If you were called as a witness in the case, would you be a witness for the prosecution against Mr. Cruz, or would you be a witness for the defense?
Go ahead, Mary, go first.
Would you be a witness for Mr. Cruz in his favor, or would you be a witness to help Mr. Will reconvict him?
I would be for Jerry.
I would be for Jerry Cruz.
I would be for Jerry Cruz, because that man told the truth from the
From the
beginning,
day one.
and that's what Ryan didn't like, and that's why Ryan wanted him prosecuted, because he was trying to tell the truth from the beginning. He didn't even want the family to speak to him, because this man was trying to contact his family with the truth from the beginning. And that's why he got all this time.
Ladies, you make me nervous, because Mr. Will called Jerry a crackhead.
Yeah.
And you're telling
And
me
that-
I gotta believe the crackhead over an assistant state's attorney.
And it's sad that you can hide behind the
Fifth
badges.
District Appeal has let me know really that Jerry was not lying since day one.
Ladies, I thank you for coming. I'm gonna have this up, Lucia Exposed, and I'm going to hope a lot of people look at it and question Mr. Do you intend to be there for Mr. Cruz?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yes.
For sure,
Yes.
just like they
Every
was
day.
from the
Every
trial
day.
from
Jerry
the beginning.
picked,
Oh,
Jerry
yeah,
did
all the
everything.
things.
And I said them jurors being picked, everything.
And if you
From
and
day
then you
one,
will
I'm
see
there.
how close Ryan is from the family, you will see he won't give us no contact. No.
Ryan don't even
Highway.
speak
He's
to
scared to
me.
even look at us.
Ladies, one
He
more
seen me
question.
and Target outside the courthouse, and you turned and ran out of the store. I can't touch you. You got on a badge.
One more question, okay? What would you want to happen?
Ryan to get out of that.
I want Ryan needs to not work for the state because he is a rat.
Well, obviously, I guess I get the opinion you don't think Mr. Will should be re-prosecuting this case.
No, he shouldn't be the prosecutor for this
I feel
case.
that they want justice for our
His dad should not be allowed to come in the courtroom, whichever courtroom is at, and sit in the back of the courtroom with his arms crossed,
His
looking
daddy.
at the judge.
Yeah, Judge Wills came and sat through trials.
Leroy's trial, in Judge Hutchinson's room with his arms crossed like this when it was time to be sentenced. Judge Hutchinson kept saying 4 or 5 years. He did not want to give this man 30 years.
So you've answered the question, that's an interesting
I feel like it was
thing.
intimidation from your daddy.
You don't think Mr. Will should be handling this case?
No,
Next question, let's go to the next level.
okay.
Do you think the Seventh Judicial Circuit, you think Mr. LaRossa's office can handle this case? Or do you think it needs to be
It
transferred
need to
out
be
to?
moved.
I think it needs
It's
to
not
be
gonna be
moved.
fair.
It's not
if
gonna
a
be fair.
Redwood. It's not. Because just like Judge Will came and said,
So
in
many
Judge
holes in
Hutchinson's
the
courtroom, he coming into the next judge's courtroom and whatever. Ryan Will won't. His dad gonna make sure
Sure
he
he
gets it. If they're guilty or not, the dad is gonna make sure. So no, it needs to be moved. And we said that from the beginning.
And what looks so funny with me is at the end of Jerry's trial, Judge Hudson and his wife sat in on that one. We hear
Oh,
the-
his mama
Judge
knows.
Will.
Ryan's mama sat through all the trials. She came in with pen and paper and with her crossword book and all that.
Who did?
And went,
Ryan's
Ryan's mother.
She sat in the back
She,
of the court.
when they convicted Leroy, she cried. She know what her son did. What mother's gonna cry? She boo-hoo cried.
Not that either. We left out. We had a 10-15 minute break. The judge gave us, the judge told us nobody is to go in the hall and talk to nobody. Nobody. Ryan Will and his mother took one of the witnesses downstairs into a room behind a tree and was talking to her. When she came out, she went straight out the door. I recorded on my phone.
How do you know it's Ryan Will's mother?
I know Ryan Will's mother because they said in the courtroom that that's Ryan Will's mother. Yes.
They pointed out.
Yes. And she came outside, the door first. She came outside the door first
Oh, yeah,
to make
we
sure
observed
nobody was
everything.
there. I was sitting right there with my cell phone recording you, boo-boo. I got you, I got Ryan, and I got the witness coming out. Yes. The judge said nobody is to talk about this in the hallway.
Ladies, you don't have to,
I got it.
I think you've lost all faith in the justice system.
Yes,
I
I
told
have.
Ryan from the beginning. I told him from the beginning they didn't care about DJ. You don't care about DJ and what happened to him. He said, you say y'all, you sound like you talking about me. You too. You part of y'all. Y'all don't give a damn about him. And that's what I told you at the courthouse. And you thought I was crazy. And that's before the first trial even started. You thought I was crazy because I said, y'all don't give a damn about him. And you proved that to his family in court that you don't give a damn about Donnell Ellis.
Because you were on,
Ryan.
Ryan, you were on the killer's side. You was not on my son's
Did
side.
you know Ryan was out there April 16th when DJ was shot? Did you
Oh,
know
yeah.
the,
Oh, yeah.
the state prosecutor was on the scene? Did you know that?
Yeah,
Did you know this man was out
You know what
there?
he told me?
Yeah, he was
He
out
said,
there.
I waited for the paperwork to hit my desk.
He was out there.
All that came out of Leroy trial. You was on the scene that day.
Wait a minute, ladies.
That's why Donnell ain't on the ground
ladies,
45
wait a
minutes.
minute. Are you telling me that J.R.
Ryan
was
Will
involved in the investigation?
Yes.
He was there on the scene.
involved
He
in
was
the
there that night. He
investigation.
was there the day they was out there on Ridgewood. He was out there. He was out there.
He was involved in the investigation?
He was out
Yes.
there. He was out there. That's why I say when
How do
got
you know
out
that? You
there-
seen it?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, ladies, I thank you for your participation. You seem to be very knowledgeable,
Oh,
No,
yes.
very.
and
We did it for you.
I could,
been 3
this
years
can
and we still
repeat
been
in
on
my
it.
head over and over. I can like tell you a lot like what everybody said, down to one of the sheriffs, Lawrence Clark, after the shooting, say they went to this girl's house and took a shower and bleached the truck, bleached this. Do you know that sheriff said he did not smell bleach in the car?
when we get this done, obviously here
It's a lot.
in January, it
Okay.
might get postponed. Jerry's got his retrial coming up. I know we got some issues, we discussed them off camera with Mr. Gadsden,
Yes.
Leroy. would you come back? It's
Anytime.
It's a very,
Anytime.
it's a very,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
there's so many
Because
players.
There's so many players,
what's
it
going on
is.
in
They
this
need to
courthouse.
know what's going on in our
We
court
don't need
system.
Ryan speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves.
Ourselves.
He's not going to tell the truth.
I get the impression from you, there's a lot of players in this case.
Yes,
And there's a lot of lies from what you guys
Lots
tell
of
me.
lies.
Okay, so this meeting is for Mr. Cruz,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because his trial's coming up.
right.
But we talked about getting back together and dealing with Mr. Gadsden's
Gadsden.
case, okay? Would you come back and go
Yes,
on camera?
anytime.
And, so I'm going to end it this way. I think I've already asked the question once, but I'm going to give it one more.
Okay.
What do you want to happen to Mr. Cruz? Do you want him released? Do you want a new trial? What do you think would be fair to me? I guess he's been in prison for a year, year and a half, maybe two, coming up. What do you think is fair for Mr. Cruz?
What's fair for Mr. Cruz is for Mr. Cruz to be found not guilty because what they're trying to say happened, did not happen.
Well-
The 5th District Court proved there was no robbery.
Okay, I'll ask it this way. Do you
Okay.
think there should even be a trial?
No, I don't think it should be any trial. He should be just released because all the lies that Ryan did. Ryan lied about everything.
He did anything to prove his
He
case.
did enough
And
time
he
for
didn't
nothing.
prove, he did not prove his case.
This is a very strange case where the mother of
Yes.
the murder victim
Right.
is coming to the defense
Mm-hmm.
of someone the state's attorney says was involved in her son's death.
Yes.
And has told this website, Volusia Exposed,
Yes.
that they are very close to this family.
Because
He
there's
is
no
not
justice
near
for
close
these
to-
people.
Obviously, I'm getting the impression that's a lie too.
It is because he didn't care anything about my son. I guess because my son didn't have any kids, but my son graduated. My son was about to register for school for business management. They took that from my son. My son wanted kids. They took that from my son the day that they killed my son. He had dreams that I'll never see him fulfill now. And I am very hurt for that because I've never said my son was an angel.
And as far as you're
My son has been
and as
in
far
trouble with
as,
the
and as
law.
far as you're concerned, his murderer walks
free.
well.
Well, he's
in
not
jail
free
now,
yet.
but-
Well, yeah.
He's not charged
He
with
never
anything.
was charged with, Jamie Evans was never charged with my son's murder.